Welcome to the Skoll World Forum on Social Entrepreneurship, which is coming live from here, Oxford, England. And today, this morning, now, we're talking about art and culture as a catalyst for social change. I've got some really fantastic guests, some brilliant two women, and I'm also really keen to hear your comments as we have the conversation. So, my first guest, Bahia Shehab, you're an artist, particularly a street artist. You're a designer and an art historian. And you're an associate professor at the American University in Cairo, where you teach about visual culture, particularly in the Arab world. You've won a slew of prizes, many accolades, and the first Arab woman to receive the UNESCO Sharjah Prize for Arab Culture. And your work has been shown throughout the world, from Canada to China, Japan to Morocco. Fantastic. And my second guest here, Hildegard Vasquez. You lead the architectural office at Shehab, which you created over 20 years ago to preserve and to renovate historic sites. And one site you're particularly interested in, it's your home, the historic district of San Felipe in Panama. And you've also done work on national theatres and hotels. You're also, on the side, if this wasn't enough, the President of Fundacion Calicanto, which is an NGO restoring the historic and human heritage of San Felipe. And that includes, interestingly enough, socialising gangs and educating programmes, things like for single mums. And you also have won a slew of awards, recognising your leadership and your entrepreneurship. Now, as we're live, and you're both artists, and I like to draw a bit as well, I'm setting us a challenge. So sometime in our conversation, we all are going to do a mutual drawing for 1 minute and see what happens. So
this is a world drawing.
Exactly. It's an experimental world drawing, and we'll see what happens. But let me first of all have a bit of a conversation and turn to you, Bahia. You have written about art being a really powerful tool, a therapy for some civilizations, and indeed even that art can cure you from disease. That's such a powerful thought. Can you explain more?
Yeah, I think science is very important, but art is a great tool for social change, and everybody can understand it. A 4-year-old, an 80-year-old, and they each can relate to an art form in different ways. So I think we really need more art in our public spaces, in our classrooms, in our houses. So I believe in art as a very important tool for social change.
But how can it actually act? Because, you know, we can paint nice pictures and listen to nice music, but how can that affect real, measurable social change?
Look at revolutions. Look at what street art has done and how it drove people to the street. Look at the music that was chanted on the streets during revolutions. And these drive people and help them ask for social change. We are the tools for social change. And I think this is how you measure art. Is, for example, during the revolution, how many people went down to the street because of music, because of art?
You're talking about in Egypt?
In Egypt, yes.
Yeah, but it's a particular type of art, because some people think that art is about questioning. It's about making us look at the world differently, about making the ordinary seem strange. Where are you here?
It's about emotions, I think.
Yeah.
Art channels the emotions that we have. The feeling that you get in front of an art piece is very different depending on where you stand in life. We use theater as a way of channeling the challenges that the women and the violence that they have in their lives, and how can they express that. And with just a single gesture of a move, it can show all the pain that they have. And once the pain is out, it becomes so much better, and it's like letting go. It's almost like when you do Aikido, that you breathe in and then you breathe out. Art does that for you.
Yeah, but also you see now they're starting to recommend, psychologists are starting to recommend a visit to the museum. So it's not just, there are different forms of art, like going down to the street and during the revolution. This is an extreme case that doesn't usually happen, but I mean in every society we need art in the classroom, but also in the theater, and people who need art the most are people who don't have access to art, I think.
Oh, so, totally. It's almost like art has become very exclusive and not inclusive. And when you include art in everything, in the classroom, when the kids are actually able to feel the process of art, and art's a process, it's not a finished product.
Exactly, it's not about the end product. It's not like creating a masterpiece and hanging it on a wall and then asking everybody to come admire this work of art. It's actually the process of creating that artwork that is healing.
And I'm wondering, we may have in the audience social change makers and they haven't used art before. What kind of tips would you give them to enable them to see art as a tool?
Oh, that's a good question. I think if you think of art as the catalyst for everything that you're doing, and it's what joins people. If we threw a bomb and the world were left on its own, the only thing we would cherish and we would want is art. Because art will bring you back that humanity that we have, and it's that connection with humanity. And if you think, I want to do change, can I use art as a tool? It can be used as, can I do a media type of art? And then you can vouch for it and you can kind of make that change. But it's also about me and you connecting together, and it's your humanity comes to me and mine to you.
Exactly. I'm teaching a course called Designing for Eternity, and we're studying ancient Egyptian art in the classroom and seeing what made the art of ancient Egypt live for so long, what contributed to its eternity. Sustainability is one thing that came, but also beauty. Beauty is, so when you have beauty, that's eternal. So this is also a very important concept.
And is it about art being used to communicate to people who have different languages and who have different cultures?
Exactly.
And yet there's something universal. So I've got an experiment here because we're doing a Facebook Live. I want us, this is kind of crazy because we're not going to produce great art with these smelly pens,
Exactly.
but 1 minute we are going to do a collective piece of, I won't call it art, a collective picture which is going to describe how art is used for social change. And the three of us are going to work. We haven't discussed this. I don't know what straw. You can pick your colour, and you can pick more than one colour.
And black.
And to see what
colors.
we can do. So here we go. So the minute begins.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, get rid of the. Yeah, we can move those on the floor.
Okay.
The minute begins now. So there we go.
This is fun.
Oh, okay.
We should do more of this. This is art therapy.
Yeah. There we go. I'm wondering how they're connecting. Let's try and connect our ideas with each other. And if we, I'm gonna, yeah. Do you want to just, you're welcome to talk through what you're.
Well, I'm drawing a small here, a small dot that became a big dot after screaming it out, so.
Okay, so it's about what you were talking earlier, having the kind of power to express.
Yeah, and then you gave a head to my, and I love the fact that you gave a head to my dot.
Yeah.
And then you're holding my dot in your hand, so it's like you're holding her brain, that is my idea, so.
And you are actually a human that's coming into the artwork, and it's pushing up the reality.
And then you're having a nice conversation here together, and that is very colorful. So
yeah, I think we need a bit more color. Yeah, color
let's have a colorful conversation.
Yeah, a colorful conversation.
And then we can amplify it like this.
Yeah. Do you think people who work in art are more creative? Do you think more creative in coming up with other ideas?
No.
Art will bring out your creativity.
Yeah.
I think we're all creative human
Exactly,
beings.
I fully
we all have
agree.
The capacity to produce.
Yeah, I can see it with my students. I mean, they come in, they can barely hold the pencil, and then in 4 years, they're just wonderful creative thinkers who are creating amazing design solutions.
We're made to see the world on the positive space, not the negative space. Art will make you see the negative space. And when you see the negative space, you start seeing the shapes of things the other way around. Once you do that, your creativity just changes because your brain functions differently.
I don't think people who don't work in art, they might not know what negative space is. They might think of it as negative. Do you want to explain a bit more?
Okay, so if you're going to draw my arm, okay, you're naturally going to draw the arm. I will tell you, draw the space around my arm, or draw the space around here. That's the negative space. And if you see things in the negative space, then the shape will come out because your eye is trained to see arm, and you will draw arm. but it's not the arm you're drawing, it's the other way around.
So this is about understanding possibilities
Yes.
that you wouldn't even have imagined had you not been looking for the negative
Yeah, it's
space.
the art of seeing, actually.
Yes.
We teach them how to look, how to see.
And is this about empowering them as individuals or empowering the community?
No, definitely, because if you empower the individual, this
You
is how
empower
you empower the community.
I think it's a joint effort. I mean, we become a community of 3 right now, and we're actually, joined in this art-making piece.
From different continents.
Yes. And we created this incredible piece.
Museum worthy.
The Ashmolean.
I think we should donate it. It's worth
I'm
donating.
sure that-
I
Yes.
agree.
And can you talk a bit, we're talking in abstract terms, but in your work in San Felipe, in Panama, when you're using all these great ideas, can you explain a bit more specific about how that has affected social change?
Look, people don't think of architecture as like the bigger arts. Architecture starts with function, and a lot of people see architecture as function. I see architecture as a tool for changing perception. When you walk into a room, every single detail matters. I think
Pyramids.
but it's different. Ours is a very small
yes, of
architecture.
course,
We don't
I'm
have the industry. I'm sorry. We got to produce something for you to come visit.
Sorry. I had to comment. I couldn't.
But art is in the details.
Yes.
And so when we started doing all this work in San Felipe, I started with like maybe 1 or 2 buildings a year. We had 1 tourist every 3 months. I didn't buy them for coffee, but
Please come.
What are you doing here? But then as things got changing, it's almost like the Panamanians themselves were not even aware of the beauty they had in the old city. And so then they started seeing, they're like, oh my God, I can go visit you. Oh, this place is nice. I can have a coffee. And they started experiencing architecture in a different way. And suddenly, when you change a street, then it becomes different,
Yes,
and then
yes,
people
of
want to
course.
come.
And then and the people who live there, it changes their whole relationships to place.
It empowers
The first
them
ones that
also.
came- The first ones that came were artists.
Okay.
Our first clients, the first weird ones, I put
Course,
myself
yeah.
in the weird category, were the
The
artists.
fun lovers.
We see beauty when other people are not willing to see
Yeah,
it.
before anyone else.
Yes.
We see beauty before
And then
anyone
you're
else.
able to create and change the whole way that society has a sense of place. That
Hopefully,
they start
yes.
to own, they start
We
to
went-
value
We
the
went
place.
from not being visited to being the second most visited site in Panama after
Brilliant.
the Panama Canal.
And how do
Brilliant.
you keep that sense of community when you get all these tourists who come there, which is so
No,
important?
that's
that's a
the
good
hardest thing,
point.
and that's why we created the foundation, and that's why we work to try to keep the local people and try to fight gentrification. Gentrification can be very negative into the community. I felt it because I lived there, and people who were my neighbors were being displaced. And so it's how do you then work around that and make this an all-encompassing place? And so it's trying to keep the people there, give them job opportunities, give them the capability to actually join forces with this economic change, and then I can stay and not have to move. I mean, there's people who've had to move 2 hours away from the historic site, but their work is there. So now they pay less for housing, but it takes them a long time to get there. And so their quality of life is really damaged. And so we can't, that's where art meets reality. And we were doing all this change, which was beautiful, but at the same time, it was having a negative impact on the city. And I don't want to go there. So it's trying to do that change differently.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Is it some of the work that you've been doing in Cairo when you're working with artists and you are enabling people to see the world differently and to experiment? How does that unfold?
My program is quite new. This year I graduate my 4th class of designers, so we're relatively new. But I can feel that, and I can see when the way they come back through now 2-3 years later, they come back. The projects that they're working on, their excitement about continuing ideas that they started in the classroom. And I see that I know it's a very slow process. It's like planting a forest. So it's going to take some time before these youngsters go out, grow, and develop their own projects. So maybe in 20 years.
It's all on street art that they're doing?
No,
or?
it's a design program. So they create design solutions on 7 or 8 different topics, from social responsibility to governmental entities.
Can we bring them to Panama?
Yes, I would love to. Let's.
Yes, here we've got a deal.
Yes.
Egyptian design students coming to Panama.
Yeah, we would
and
love
what
to.
challenge will you set them?
Oh, not do a pyramid for
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we would love to come. We would love to. I would love to bring my students.
I've always said that one of the things that we need more of is design, and you know, the more like engineering-wise we've turned education, the more we've lost art and creativity, and it's trying to get that back.
No, the main thing they do is in their final year project, they spend the whole year working on one idea, and then our main condition is you have to be passionate. If you don't love it, then you can't work on it because you're going to be stuck with it for a year.
That?
By endurance. We keep asking them for a month, can you live with this idea for a year? Are you sure? And then they research it for 4 months, and then they execute it for another 4 months. Some of them move on to create entrepreneurial projects based on their school projects.
And how much do you say that social change has to be embedded in their design work? Or is it, what happens if somebody is just interested in the aesthetic?
It doesn't work because design also follows function. So, and we teach them design thinking. So it's not only design a package or how to think as a designer and how to solve problems as a designer. How do you solve problems creatively? And that problem could be designing a recycled shoe or creating a sexual education kit for the poor. So we've had, or augmented reality game. So we've had students work in different mediums. The medium doesn't matter. They can do a table, design a table, product design. It's really open as long as they use design thinking, it's creative, and they're passionate about it.
And if people who might not be aware of what design thinking is, how would you sum that up?
So it's, would you like to help?
No, yeah.
We need to write like 7 books to answer that question.
You have to go to Stanford, take the course, and come back.
Yeah. No.
It's maybe understanding design through a different perspective when you, it's almost like the positive negative space kind of thing. It's when you are meant to listen instead of talk.
Yeah, it's having a lot of empathy to understand someone's problem. So the first thing you need is empathy. And then
how do you develop empathy if you don't, people might not feel that?
I don't know, that's a difficult
we
question.
teach empathy.
Yeah.
We teach empathy. Part of the women that go through our project, actually the biggest problem that they have is they have no empathy. When a child cries, they don't understand that the child's crying because they
it
have a
needs
need.
help.
That the child's crying because he's bothering me. So I better stop him with violence, or all these things are reactions. And it's because you haven't received empathy. So empathy has to be received for you to then be able to be empathic.
A lot of my faculty body are actually very kind. So so we hire people who are kind by nature.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I make sure that...
Wow, that's one of the key criterion. Does it say it in the job spec?
No, I just in the interview, are you kind? Would you like some coffee? So yeah, I think having a good team of educators would help channel this idea of empathy without really spelling it out in the classroom. But if your teacher treats you kindly, if everybody around you wants you to succeed and shows you that we don't care about you getting a high, it's not about getting a high grade. Yeah. It's about creating good work.
And you're not, I'm not allowing you to talk. And I'm only telling you to listen.
Exactly, we listen.
Actively listen, because one thing is you're listening and not actively listening. And you have to take notes, and you have to really absorb the information of the other person, not put my idea onto you.
Exactly.
Because I can always come in and I have a great idea, and I come from a very square, boxy nature. This is change the idea, and you're coming in from behind.
Yeah, but we're also changing our teaching modules. We're no longer, like, as you said, throwing up ideas at our students, but engaging in active learning and flipping the classroom and listening. Yeah, listening to what they need and what they have to say also.
Thank you so very much. What a fascinating conversation. And we have a piece of art.
Yes.
Soon destined to the Ashmolean. Exactly. Bahia Shehab and Hildegard Vasquez. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
I feel I've learned so much.
Thank you.
Coming up in 40 minutes, we've got 2 people who are working in very different ways to use capital to accelerate positive change. Thank you.